Oh, she got it. Yeah. There you go.
Phil, tell Darren 5 seconds. Tell Darren 5 seconds. 5 seconds, Donnie.
Oh, he's sprinting.
He's actually the negative time now. Just waiting for the talent to come out.
Just showboating.
Yeah.
Sign an autograph. You're ready, Don.
Oh, he's got his...
4 seconds into the show. Count it out. 5.
Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2019 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are live from McGillivray Speedway at 30th and High School in the beautiful town of Speedway, Indiana. If you're coming into town for the BC 39, which starts on Wednesday, the finals on Thursday, or the Brickyard, you got to make sure you come to McGillivrays. It's only about, 4 miles west of the Speedway. Come on in, great food, great service, and the adult beverages are ice cold. Tonight's show is presented by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT IndyCar Series, and SVRA. A couple questions that pop off. How many people watched the Portland race?
We did.
How was it? Did you like it? Was it a good race after the first half lap? After that first half lap was over? Oh, I see. Yeah, somebody's favorite Jack Harvey got taken out as well. But after that, it seemed to be, I thought it was a good race afterwards. And the next one is in 2 weeks at Laguna Seca. So keep that in mind. You got a couple weeks off, but they'll be back. How many went to the Nationals? Can you believe that a guy that's 74 years old won his 5th U.S. Nationals funny car championship? Fabulous, and it's his 151st event win. Not too bad. Doug Kellett, a former open wheel driver, and USAC won the Top Fuel, and again John Force won the funny cars. What about losing Pocono? Good idea? Replacing it with Richmond, a good idea? Should still have it. The only problem, if you looked at the schedule with the Olympics on, and NBC is telecasting the Olympics, there's a couple of long spaces in between races, and I think it's July and August, so be some time off that you'll be able to play golf, so forth. Anyway, next week, my first confirmed guest as of this minute is the CEO of Hellman and Company, which owns the IndyCar and the Indiana Motor Speedway. Mr. Mark Miles will be here. And I'm looking at another one. And don't forget, tomorrow night is Wednesday. Jeez. And Wednesday night is bike night. So if you got a bike, a two-wheeler, get yourself out here. You have a good time. A lot of riders. You can sit and tell stories to each other. And if you're looking to buy a vintage car, I highly recommend you go to the Grant King shops. If you got one or you want to get one, they can help you. If you got one needs to be restored, they can do that as well. And they got an engine builder to restore your engine as well. So give them a call at 317-820-3595. If you're in town, you want to tour a couple of shops, you can call that same number. They've got a limousine to take you for a ride. So they got you both coming and going. And if you haven't subscribed as yet to Speed Tour, the SVRA magazine, you need to do that. It's a great magazine. Just go to svra.com, subscribe to it. You'll love it. And if you need insurance for your home, your car, or commercial property, VP Insurance can cover you. Mike Pardee can do it. You get better coverage for less money. Give them a call. Make an appointment. Number is 317-248-0070. Now, my first two guests, the gentleman on the far end, generally doesn't return my calls when I call him. So needless to say, when I texted him and he responded, I fell out of my chair. But he said he'd be here.
I thought you were a girl. That was why. Donna.
Yeah, Donna. Yeah, it was Donna. He's a former driver. Started driving go-karts at 10 years old. Did very well at racing in Europe. Came to America. Did quite well there. And ended up driving for Chip Ganassi Racing and A.J. Foyt. Took a sabbatical from racing. Went east. Thought that wasn't a good idea. Came back. built a shop with simulators in it to teach drivers how to drive, and he is a driver coach as well. One of the best guys, good guy around. Please welcome Darren Manning. Sitting next to him is a guy he's been working with for a couple of years. He's been in, I think you came the entire Road to Indy program. You've been in Indy Lights 3 years, I believe. This is your 3rd year?
This is the 4th year, actually.
4th year, okay. Well, I was close. And trying to figure out why you're driving. You've got a degree from the Queen's University in Canada in physics. It's some physics. I forgot what it was. It's not
engineering physics, so it's like mechanical engineering.
And you're driving a race car.
Well, there's lots of applied math that goes on there. I mean, it's.
Yeah, turn 1, turn 2. He's doing very well, actually, so I thought I would invite him, and I was surprised when Darren said, yeah, we'll both be there. Please welcome Dalton, Kellett. What got you, Darren, to driving a race car? They didn't have McDonald's yet? You couldn't get a job there, or what?
Well, yeah, pretty much. I couldn't afford McDonald's. That was what it was. No, just I think actually my old man he won, funnily enough, a go-kart in a raffle with his brother. I don't know. Back in the day, he had slicks on the front and wets on the back and a leather cap helmet and all that kind of good stuff. And he loved it, and he was a big fan. He collected, die-cast cars, Formula One guys, and all that kind of stuff. Loved it, and when I was old enough to thrash a go-kart around an old airfield, he bought me one. So Mum didn't want me to go on 2 wheels, so she went to a motocross race with us when I was younger, because it was earlier, younger age to get started back then. And we went to the first one, and she's seen these kids flying off the ramps and falling off and everything. Nope, we're not doing 2 wheels. So Dad got 4. So it's kind of started there, kind of similar, I'm sure, for everybody.
When you started your career, was it in your plan to come to America and to eventually run the 500?
Not primarily, but always, in the back of your mind, you're always wanting to race, and Formula One was the number one goal, of course. But even growing up back many moons ago, it was Champ Car Series, the IndyCar Series, all that kind of stuff or IndyCars back then. It was way better racing than Formula One. Very processional Formula One, and they've tried to make it more exciting with DRS and all this kind of gizmos, but
it hasn't changed very much.
No, it hasn't. No, it's still very two silver cars, 2 red cars, 2 Red Bull, So, but Champ Car, IndyCar was great racing. It was always late on late at night after the Formula One races, so it was always something that was, not second on the list, but kind of diagonal off to the side.
And you made it.
Thankfully, yeah, it was close. I was close to being in Japan when I got the call.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. It's amazing how guys get into that. They start, dad or sometimes mom was racing. They think it's a good idea. And once they start moving up and get into cars that go over 200 miles an hour, then they start saying, was this really a good idea to aim our kid in this direction? But, they do it, and 9 out of 10 times the parents support it. Did your parents support you even when you were racing here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they not financially by that stage, but yeah, they were over every time, and they're actually taking on Dalton as a second son now. They come over every couple of years. Obviously, it's a long trip, and they're not getting any younger and everything. So yeah, no, they came to nearly every race when I was driving, for sure.
Now you've got a school, and you've taken actual tubs of lights cars or something, and you built. I got to tell you, I went to his shop. He said, "Come up and see my shop." Strangely, he answered his phone. I said, "Where are you?" So he gave me the address. What's the name of the place? iAdvantage Racing. So I went up there. And he's on the floor, laying tile. I said, "Now wait a minute. You're a race driver. What the heck are you doing on the floor?" He said, "I did the whole thing." And then he got the tubs and he built all the computer stuff. I can't turn mine on, usually.
You still got the flip phone you just showed us, remember?
Yes. And I'm very proud. But How is that going? Is it accomplishing what you want to get young kids in and teach them?
It is. If I can get more, it's always better, right? You know, we've been going for probably 5 years now. It's how I met Dalton, and going to the tracks is, part and parcel of the same, continuation of what I try to teach in the simulator, but obviously on a, more in depth, actual racing, cars and engineering and stuff, whereas the simulator is more teaching fundamentals, repetition, getting them ready to go to the track, if you like, give them some of the tools.
Dalton, what got you into racing? Going to college, you graduated, as I said, with a degree in essentially mechanical engineering, physics of some sort, but you got into a race car. Were you racing prior to that, and you went to school anyway and said, when I get out of here, finally, I'm going to go race?
Yeah, well, the start of the racing thing, for me, we really have to go back to, it to be winter of probably 98 or so. I was born in 93, so I was 5 or 6 years old.
Born in 93.
Yeah, I think
I got
you
socks that
started
are
racing open wheel cars by that point.
Yes, thank you, Dalton.
And at the time, my parents had a cottage on the side of a lake, and it's a Canadian thing to go skidooing and all that. And had some friends who raced go-karts, but we all had these 50cc 2-stroke little Arctic Cat, mini Cat snowmobiles, and that was kind of my first exposure to racing, was racing those on kind of like a kidney oval type thing on a frozen lake. So it's a very Canadian story. And I took a hiatus for a while until I was 14, and kind of. I'd always wanted to race karts, and my parents finally relented and let me get into it. And I did karts all through high school, and a little bit of racing over in Europe, down here in the States. And when I went to university, I started racing in the Road to Indy in USA 2000 with Augie Papp's team, and did a couple years with them, then a couple years in Pro Mazda at the time, now Indy Pro 2000. And once I graduated from university, I was very relieved to be able to focus full time on racing once I finally broke into the light series, and been doing that for a while now and trying to make the jump up into IndyCar.
Augie Papps has brought a lot of young drivers through his team. I knew a guy that drove for his father. I shouldn't say that, but I knew he drove for his dad. And we were at Mid-Ohio, and I see this Papps car, and I wasn't paying that much attention. As I walk by, I see his name on the side of the car, Donnie Devine. Can't be. I used to skate. We used to speed skate, race. I used to race against him. What the hell are you doing here? Driving a race car. Okay. Still talk to him from time to time, but Papps Racing has done a nice job, I think. When you got out of school and made the announcement, now that I've got my degree, I'm going to go race. What did Mom and Dad say to that?
Well, similarly to Darren's story, I've always had my family support, and they've unequivocally been behind me for my whole career. They still come to all the races. I think they've only missed 1 or 2 of my open wheel races, so I've been very fortunate to have a very supportive family behind me.
They made sure, though, that he was studying in the engineering rooms with his books.
Yeah, you can ask Augie about that one. There were definitely times where they'd be like, okay, Dalton, we got qualifying in half an hour, like stop doing your labs or homework or whatever and focus on racing. But yeah, it was a tough 4 years.
People say, well, Indy Lights isn't that good. There's only 9 or 10 cars. Oh, yeah? But they're all together. So it doesn't matter. I mean, there's nobody back, 30 seconds. They're all right together. So I got to think, as a driver, you can learn a lot racing-wise because you've got everybody around you.
Oh, you can. For the last 2 years especially, the field has been very small, but it's been very deep in terms of talent. I mean, you can't argue with the fact that when you have Colton and Pato stepping into IndyCar and competing for wins and poles, that Lights isn't competitive. It may not look like much of a show, but the racing is really good.
Yeah, that's always impressed me. I mean, it would be nice to have 20 cars, but the 9 or 10 that are there are very competitive, very close, and they race for the most part pretty clean.
Yeah. Usually, this weekend cleaner than the IndyCar boys. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about you. I don't want to get into the IndyCar business. We've already got 2 ladies in here crying over that because Jack crashed out. It's taken out. I'm sorry. Did I wake you up? Excuse me. I'm sorry. Okay. What does Darren bring to the table to help you? What have you learned? I mean, you got a degree in physics, for Pete's sake. What does he bring to help you as a driver?
Not schoolwork, that's for sure.
Well, there's two parts of being a driver, right? There's the technical understanding of the talent, or of the your technique and the setups, and understanding how the car works and what you have to do with the engineers to develop a fast race car. That's very critical, especially on ovals. But then there's the other side, that's what you're feeling, what you're relaying in terms of the communication with the engineer and all that. And you can't get those skills going to class or reading books. It's stuff that you have to experience and learn. And having somebody who's been through it and has that a really good technical background racing with teams like Ganassi and Foyt and all that, and also a lot of driving experience. It's just good to have that mentor relationship to be able to bounce ideas off each other and kind of guide the direction as far as your technique and setup and all that.
It's interesting that now, back when I came in the 60s, a driver coach, are you kidding? Mario want a driver coach coming through? Not a chance. AJ? Well, throw a hammer at him. But things have changed. But for you as a driver, and not having been in the seat of a car for, 6, 8, not 10 years, whatever it is, how much has the technique of driving and what points to look for, how much has that changed? Has the speed made that much of a difference at all?
No, I don't think it's changed at all, actually, Don, to be honest. It's still 4 tires that are they're in contact with the ground, and it's got a go fast pedal and a slow down pedal. It's nearly as simple as that, and you've got to get from point A to point B as fast as you possibly can. We've maybe gone in a bit more in depth into the absolute specifics of the technique. But that's only because you want to, like Dalton was saying, you only want to be able to relay that back to the engineer to make the car faster, so you can drive, or not make the car faster, to make the car better and more suited to allow you to drive it faster. Because at the end of the day, the driver is still the guy that presses the loud pedal and goes from braking point to braking point, try to be as faster than the other guy. So we understand it a little bit more, and like Dalton alluded to there, the mentorship, the psychology, the less mistakes, just getting more out of yourself as a human being is if you want to do that with your race car or trying to get more horsepower, why not try and get more horsepower out of the driver as well?
Yeah. And just to kind of add to that, one of the things you'll find, especially when you're going, in the junior leagues, it's pretty common for guys to go from one team to the next year after year, and oftentimes an engineer or a team might have a methodology, whether it's technique or setup, that they kind of preach. And when you're jumping from team to team and you're hearing, the one team's telling you to focus on this part of your driver, and another team's telling you that no, you have to do this to be fast, that can be confusing for a young driver, right? When you do have a coach and you agree on, okay, this is the technique that we're going to focus on, and we're going to develop the car based on this, that having that consistent approach, I think, really helps.
It's been said many times, and Darren may have said it at one point in time, sometimes you go slow to go fast.
Yeah, it's true sometimes.
And it is true. If you go too fast, you're in the sand or in the fence. So you have to settle. The thing that's always intrigued me is you can take a team with 2 drivers, and Dalton sets a car up the way he likes it, and he gets in his partner's car, and they switch cars. And he gets in his partner's car and says, how in the world do you drive this thing? The setup for one driver to the next is never the same. They say, well, there's cars are the same. No, they're not, because the drivers aren't the same.
No, that's right. I think a lot of teams will try to start their setups at the beginning of the weekend exactly the same from what they've developed and talked. We go into the team, the week before every race and discuss with the engineers what we're going to do, what our starting setup, right? And they try to make sure that that's pretty much the same. And then if you've got 2 cars and they go off, then you go off in your own directions with your driver and engineer. And then every debrief, you've got 2 sets of information. You say, we tried this and found that was better. We'll check out the driving style, see if it can, apply to Dalton or vice versa. So that's where the good teams, drivers, engineer, maybe coach, mentor relationship gets those guys going, faster through the weekend, quicker.
Do you think that having you as his coach, mentor, pal,
sometimes
give input to the engineers from your experience and say, well, maybe we should try a little something else? Because I run on this track in particular.
Yeah, I mean, we do all the time. You know, I feel, you know, one of the biggest, you know, things that I teach and work with Dalton on, or any of my drivers, is that relationship with with a team or engineer. Because you've got, as a driver, you've got to get the best out of all of them, right? And as Dalton was saying earlier, he's got to, you know, get over to those guys what he's feeling, because when Dalton says, oh, I've got a little bit of understeer, or I say I've got a little bit of understeer, it's too complete, you know, maybe a 5 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. Or if I say, I've got a little bit of understeer, you know, Dalton says, oh, I've got a little bit of understeer. That might be the same. You never know, right? So that relationship and talking through with the engineer, and, you know, I you know, generally is sitting in the background, but I will generally always give my point of view of what anything from my experience or pick up from Dalton that I don't think has quite got across.
Has your college education helped you as a driver in understanding the car, knowing the car? When they tell you they're going to make an adjustment, you know what they're talking about. I mean, I hear they're going to put 2 pounds of air in a tire. Okay, I put 2 pounds of air in my car tire today. Didn't make a hell of a lot of difference. But did your education, so you understand what you're looking for and can convey it to your engineer, what you need and what you want?
Yes, but whether that's a good thing or not is always up for debate. I think people have different opinions on that. You know, it's one thing to understand empirically what's going on, but like I said, sometimes in terms of getting the most out of yourself, I found, for me at least, I have to kind of back away from some of that, because you can just be thinking about too much, right? Like, at the end of the day, the engineer's job is to be the engineer, and the driver's job is to be the driver. I think it is very valuable in testing and in development, but when it comes
back at the shop and things like that,
yeah, when you're relating with the team and when you're actually developing a car, I think it's a big asset, especially when you have a formula that allows more development, right? Like in IndyCar, there's more stuff that the teams can do with the dampers and brakes and all that, and the in lights might be spec. But when the green flag drops, at the end of the day, you have to be a driver.
Have you tested an IndyCar yet?
Yep. Yeah, I had a couple opportunities to get behind the wheel of a couple of the Andretti cars when I was racing with them. We haven't had a test this year, but we're working on some options for the future.
I don't know if you're aware of it, but I think Ricardo probably has 1 or 2 stashed somewhere. He might be able to roll it out and give you a shot at it. How different is it driving for him, for Ricardo, compared to where you have been?
You know, it's always an adjustment when you go from one team to the next, and for those of you that don't know, I spent the last 4 years with Andretti Autosport, and nothing but great things to say about that whole team. You know, they do it all very well, but it was kind of time for a change for me. And you know, you go from a really big team with a lot of resources to a good team but a smaller team with Yonkos Racing, where I'm at now, and it's different. It's more of a family environment. It's you know, obviously a smaller team in terms of personnel, but we have quick cars. I mean, there's, you know, our setups have won races, and we've been on the podium this year. You know, I really like working with Ricky and his family. Like I said, it's a very family operation. Yeah, no, it's fun.
The thing that I found interesting is that all the guys that I've talked to that work for him love him. Love him. I mean, if you got a problem, tell me about it, whether it's you're at home or you know, here. And if you need something to help you as a driver, he'll do it.
Yeah, no, it's true. And you know, he's you know, I think any team owner would do it if they had to. But I've seen Ricky, you know, when he sees something in pit lane, he'll jump over the wall and grab if he has to, he'll grab the torque wrench and torque the tires or lift the car, like whatever he has to do. He
was tire guy, wasn't he, at Coda at the test at the beginning of the year? Yeah. He was doing pressures and tires.
Where do you think you stand to move up? Do you think by next year you're ready? Are you going to have the backing to move up?
I think I'm ready as a driver, and you know, as a person, I obviously want to make that jump and move into IndyCar. You know, as far as the funding and the support, that's something that we're working on actively right now. I think it's promising, but I think that's what any driver would say if you ask them. So,
and what they usually say is, "We're working on it." Yeah, I'm working on it. So am I. I got to cut my grass tomorrow, so I'm working on that. Do you think Darren, as having worked with him for a couple of years now, is he ready to move?
Yeah, I felt actually last year was about the right time for him to jump up for the 2019 season. But we had some unfinished business, I think, in Indy Lights, I think we would say. Worked hard for the first couple of years on his driving, and then, mentally worked very hard, throughout the last season, and, come out really strong this year and really trying to prove, that he can do it consistently, which he's done this year. And yeah, he's every time when he jumped in the IndyCar in your first year, I think it was in Indy Lights, right? Just straight out of Pro Mazda, he was really quick at Watkins Glen. It's nearly an easier car to drive, to be honest. Does what it's supposed to do, and can be tuned to do what you want it to do. Whereas the Lights, there's what you've got, good luck, kind of deal. So, he should be. It's looking good though for next year.
You haven't been in. You were in the new IndyCar. Was it last year you drove?
The last test that I had would have been, it was Hunter Ray's car in 2018 or 2017. It was the previous body kit, with the higher downforce package, yeah.
But the guys that have moved up from Lights, and there's a number of them, obviously, say that actually IndyCar is easier to drive than a Lights car.
Yeah, I think that's what I was saying. Even without all the downforce, I think it's just the tires. They don't have to last maybe like the Coopers do, for example. They've got, they don't get 10 sets of tires a weekend. We get 4 sets for budget reasons and things. So that tire's got to, last a lot longer than the IndyCar tires do. So that's a big part of it. Obviously, the downforce, the engine. You've got, the engine guys work with you a lot on gear change and power. Everything. You can basically tune everything to the driver what you want.
Yeah, sorry. Just the other thing too with Lights is that we have it's a single supplier engine, single supplier engine for the whole series, whereas you have Honda and Chev for IndyCar. So each team has their own Honda or Chevy engineer trying to make their motor better and more drivable. Whereas for us, we kind of all have the same package.
I worked for a team, and the owner was also the engineer. And he'd come out as soon as the car pulled in the pit after a run. He'd jump over the wall. Can't anymore, but he could then. And he'd put temperatures on the tires. He said, I can tell everything from the temperature. Everything. How it's handling, where, everything. Then he talked to the driver. What's the problem? What is it? If he didn't match what the tires told him, he said, now we got a problem. But generally, and there was one guy that didn't know he didn't know it slid. Okay. But do you find that you and your engineer are on the same page, that you can tell him what you feel, what you need, what needs to be changed so you can go faster?
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what I said earlier about us having kind of a consistent methodology that we're applying to the technique and all that. I mean, with what Darren and I are working on, we know very specifically what we want to get out of the car, and that doesn't really change whether you're in an IndyCar, Indy Lights car, or it could be a Honda Civic for all it matters. I mean, it's the same driving technique that we're applying, and because we have that in our minds, it makes it easier to tell the engineers what it is that we're looking for, and that definitely helps.
Do you like the 2020 schedule?
I've never been to Richmond. I've never driven on the track, but I personally like the short ovals a lot. Iowa and Phoenix are two of my favorite tracks. I know it's a little bit different than those two, but I think it'll be very exciting. Yeah,
it was when they were there.
Yeah, I raced Iowa. I think we were telling Dalton, and we kind of pulled it up on YouTube at the weekend, didn't we? And had a bit of a laugh at how skinny I was, and people.
I think they called Darren the master of the close call.
There was a lot of instant replays of me skimming past other cars on the outside. No, I don't know.
And I remember when you had hair hanging down.
Yeah.
Over. I never had that problem. Yeah. What happened to you? Same thing happened to me almost. I think. I'm sorry to see Pocono go. I don't know exactly what happened, but I understand it was a last-minute switch, or they dropped out, and I've heard a couple of reasons why. Maybe Mark will tell us next week, but I wouldn't hold my breath. But Richmond I thought was a good track, and those cars at night are spectacular.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to Dalton as well. The high banking, super short track at night. It's something special. You can pass there as well. It's like Iowa used to be. You know, you can go too wide nearly and really work a couple of different lines, and you can go to the inside photographer's stand in the inside of 3 and 4 and look right down in the cockpit of the drivers. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I've read somebody said, well, you know, there's only one line at Richmond. I'm thinking, you know, I was there the whole time they ran there, and I saw cars running 2, and on the back and front straight, sometimes 3 wide, because somebody backed off before they. But it was spectacular racing, and the thing that intrigued me is when I go down there, I didn't have much to do. I go talk to the fans. What do you like? How do you like them? Man, are they fast? I mean, they're faster than NASCAR? Oh, Lord, yes.
Oh, yeah, you really see how fast they are on a short oval. And like Dalton was saying, you end up driving the car on these ovals. You know, a lot of even Indy, to be fair, you know, there's a lot of times that you're just a passenger with your foot fully down to the ground, you know, and just as soon as you leave the pits, put a walking stick on the gas pedal and off you go. Whereas places like Richmond and Iowa, you've really got to hustle it, and it's really fun for a driver. If you've got a good car, it sucks if you've got a bad one.
Well, between the two of you, he'll have a good car. That's your job. Besides shaving.
Not my job. No,
To help you.
That's all on me now,
yeah,
right?
that's all, exactly.
Okay, good for you.
I help, yes, I help.
You know, how could this is going to be a dumb question, but and I'm specialized in that. That's why I heard Ron say, "Oh, he's always asking dumb." Being a Canadian, do you get support from Canada when do they know what you're doing here, wherever town you came from?
Yeah, so I was born in Toronto, and I grew up maybe 40 minutes north of downtown, and every year that we go there for the street race, you know, we have, I think, just of our circle, you know, we had probably around 150 people there for the weekend, and so the color on my car is always a teal, like a you know, green, and
like your
yeah,
shirt.
like the watch strap kind of, and we had, you know, people walking all around with those shirts and stuff. It was really great to see that hometown support. Yeah, so, and, you know, we're definitely building the fan base there, and it's a city that really gets behind the racing. But
Do they follow what you're doing? Do you get calls from newspapers and talk radio from up in the area to talk to you, follow your career, how you're doing?
yeah, we have a couple. I mean, in Canada, there's a couple of racing podcasts. There's one with TSN that I talk to those guys pretty frequently. Raceline Radio, those guys keep up with us. And then when we go to Toronto for the race, the local newspapers always, you know, do a story on the Canadian drivers that are there. So yeah, the town definitely keeps up with us.
That's nice to have town support. I've talked to a couple of drivers that, you know, do you get any support? They didn't even know what I do. Well, you got to go tell them. You know, was it 2021 that the new car and the new 2022 that the new engine with the was it
Hybrid, maybe?
Yeah, hybrid car that's coming.
I think it's going to be a hybrid, yeah.
And I said, you know, I have not been to a Formula E race, but it's kind of silly when you hear a car go, and that's it. I said, can you imagine if they came and ran the 500, people in the stand would say, turn the PA down, it's too loud. You think there's any chance that electric cars will ever end up in the IndyCar series?
It's a loaded question. You know, I think the move to a hybrid power plant obviously is going to be driven by what the market needs in terms of the series partners with your car manufacturers, and that's part of why Formula E is having the run that it's having right now. But no, I don't really think that Indy would ever become an electric only series, or at least not in the foreseeable future. I think the hybrid technology is pretty relevant to what the manufacturers are doing right now. And I think that's going to be where they want to develop.
Well, I personally don't like the idea. I don't even like an electric car. Can you imagine climbing in a car, go to bed, so take a nap? I don't know.
Automated cars.
Yeah. But the thing that I like about IndyCar now is the less downforce. The drivers, as I'm sure you're aware, have said, now we got to do a little more driving because we don't have the tremendous downforce. And now when they're going to add 125 horsepower, it's going to make it even more fun.
Yeah, I think that's the key right there, is the extra horsepower. I think what they've found over these last couple of years with the lower downforce, everybody just runs, you know, and not enough horsepower. They just all run minimum downforce, right? And trying to get drag out of it, doing silly things with the setup to try and make them faster in a straight line with wheel angles and all sorts of crazy things, to make them go through the corner, and then they're a bit more dangerous to drive. Whereas if you were approaching the corner at 20 mile an hour faster, you might have to pedal it a bit and get a good setup on the car.
And I think that's what's neat. The drivers that I've talked to over the years, we don't have to drive these. They're so stuck. All you got to do is make sure you turn it at the right time. Are you looking forward to 2022 when they get 2020 for you to get up to IndyCar and the way it's developing? I think the future is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. I think the chance of obviously seeing a new race car is always great. When you have that, everyone's always really excited when the new chassis comes out, and it's something new to experience and then develop the setups for. I think it'd be really exciting.
When does the new car come out? The
2022.
2022, yeah. One thing about Jay Fry, you got to say, when he said he's going to do something, it's exactly what he does. In the past, they said, we're going to do this, maybe, and it didn't happen. And the first car ran for, 8 or 9 years before they finally got another one. Well,
yeah, so this will be 10 years for this chassis, with obviously the updates that it's had over the years with safety and aero packages, but that tub is still the same, primarily.
Do you feel safe in the car? Do you feel the car is a safe car to drive?
Yeah, I think the Dallara group does an excellent job. I mean, the lights tub has a lot of the same safety features that are found on the IndyCar. They actually, that tub design is actually slightly newer than the IndyCar. You have the cockpit protection that goes a little bit further forward than it does on the big car. And I think between the work that Dallara does and then what the series is doing to mandate safety, and then they obviously have the best mobile safety team of any race series, and I think those guys really make us feel safe.
Wouldn't it be neat when they were talking about the windscreen and changing and having a problem? I said, you're going to put a halo? No. You see how silly Formula? No. So what are they doing? They're putting a brace around to hold the windscreen in place. What is that? It's a halo, if you ask me. Nobody asked me, but if they did, that's what I'd say. Well, safety, the only concern. I understand the drivers had a meeting and they're a little concerned about that. Being able to get in and out of the car. In is easy. It's getting you out if you got a problem.
Yeah, I think that's the good thing is about the IndyCar series. The guys there, Miles and all these guys, they want the input of the veteran drivers, and the young kids. You want as much input as you can, because you might not think of everything yourself, right? It's a problem, so they have to solve it.
Well, I want to thank both of you for coming here. I want to wish you nothing but the best. You got 2 more races left?
Yeah, one race weekend at Laguna Seca, but it's a doubleheader for us.
Doubleheader again, yeah. Well, good luck.
Thanks, Don.
And hopefully the next time we talk to you, you'll say, I got a contract, I'm driving IndyCar in 2020.
When it happens, we'll be the first ones to call you.
Oh, yeah. Dalton, Kellett, Darren Manning, thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. My other guest is here. He's probably said, I think he forgot me, but I didn't. As I said, if you want to take a limo ride when you're in town for the Brickyard 400, it's a big machine vodka 400, I should say, get a hold of the Grand King shop and get a limo ride to a couple of race shops if you want to see them. Give them a call, talk to them about it. Number's 317-820-3595. And if you want to take a ride and see what these guys and gals like about the Indy cars, you got to take a 2-seater ride. There's no question about it. It's a great thrill to be in. And all you have to do is go to IndyRacingExperience.com and pick out a date, and in the promo box put SJ1. You get a 50% discount. Or you can call Shonda. Number 317-243-7171. Set something up with her. You will not be sad, I guarantee you. You will love it. It's a thrill, whether it's on a road course or on oval. It's a great experience. And the last event of the year for the SVRA is the 2019 U.S. Vintage Grand Prix at Watkins Glen, September 5th to the 8th. For anywhere in the Northeast, and you don't go there, you're silly. It's a great event, a lot of fun, a lot of great cars and great drivers, so make sure you stop by. My guest joining me is another gentleman that I have asked a number of times, and he keeps saying, sorry, I have baseball, I have soccer, I have tennis. when you have kids, you have those. He is from a family that got involved in motorsports in 1984. His dad, and I've never understood this, was in the food business. I think the first Kentucky Fried Chicken in the area, I think your dad had, if I'm not mistaken. He built Jonathon Byrd's cafeteria and some of his friends and said, "You're crazy to put it there," but he wasn't crazy at all. He got involved in open wheel racing. He had drivers like Rich Vogler driving for him. He got into IndyCar. On occasion was an owner and a sponsor. He had a couple, I think, top 6 finishes, top 10 for sure, in IndyCar. And I've never figured out, from making meals to making speed, how in the world that happened. I never know. But his son and his other son are both involved in it. They got the Byrd racing going, and they're involved in it. And this young man sitting next to me thought about buying the speedrome, but he got there too late. And the poor guy said, "Oh, what a shame they made him president." And since he's been there, and what they've done to that place is amazing. We're going to talk about what's going on. Please welcome Mr. Jonathon Byrd II.
Thank you, Don. Good to be back.
Nobody's playing tennis or volleyball or anything?
No, I ran out of excuses where I couldn't come. No, just kidding. I thought, okay, I will come the week of the World Figure 8 Championship so I can promote it. But,
of course.
But yeah, I am so sorry that every Tuesday night something was going on. Like you said, it was baseball or basketball or kids this, kids that. And we actually, my niece, my brother's daughter, we just had a dinner to send her back to Phoenix. So she's starting a 28-hour drive to Phoenix right now.
Don't tell me she got a job at one of your hotels down there.
Yep, she's going to work at the hotels again.
Oh, what a shame.
Yes.
You know, the interesting thing about your dad was, if you ever saw him, he was a big guy. And you'd see him walking around, you'd say, "What the hell's he doing at a racetrack?" But he loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
He loved racing. I mean, when he was a kid, he got taken to the speedrome once, and then he was, he just, once you get involved with going to Raceway Park back in the old stock car days, and pushing and polishing for people like Johnny Rutherford, stock car, and stuff like that, and just got really, it was just in his blood. He got hooked, and just like I've been hooked with racing now for the last 37 years of my life.
He's only 38 years old. Same as Howdy Bell.
Yeah, we're just a couple years apart.
Yeah.
And so he just loved racing, and he loved racing. We raced all across the country, won a couple championships with Rich Vogler for being a car owner championship, and the IndyCar stuff, and the 500, and man, it was just those were some good times back then.
And the interesting thing about your dad, when I was out there, we used to go out there from time to time for dinner. And one day or lunch, I guess, I ran into your dad, and he said, "Come on, I want to show you something." So he took me upstairs into the hermetically sealed office. He had probably what is a world-class collection of Bibles. I mean, he had some that were almost original.
Yep, well, they were original. I mean, maybe 16. When you talk about the 1611 King James Bible, we had 10 of them from 1611. Oh. So I mean, just
what was he trying to hoard them?
No, he restored them. We found all partials all across the world in different libraries and different state, just different, an abbey here and a bookstore here or something like that, and he'd restore them. And so it was a pretty cool, because they only made one page out of all those Bibles. The one page you needed was, there was only one of those in each Bible, so you couldn't find 10 John 3:16s laying around somewhere.
So besides traveling the world for that, he had a restaurant that was very successful, a cafeteria he called it, and racing. What have you guys learned from your dad that you've taken on to what you guys do? You and your brother, David.
Yeah, it's very much the art of the deal with how we're doing things. Dad was we were very fortunate to have Bryant Heating Cooling for many years as a sponsor and a supporter, and that was just the way we did things back in the day. You hope for other people to pay for your racing, and so he had a couple different ideas, and we've expanded upon that where we get we do business deals to pay for our racing. So much like the Roger Penske model, he does business deals to pay for his racing, and we've done that at a little bit smaller comparison, but nonetheless, it's definitely where you can replicate it. It's sustainable, and you're not knocking on doors every year. So, we can say with 99% relative certainty we'll be at the Indy 500 next year.
And you will be next year?
That's what I can say with 99% relative certainty.
I think the last time I saw your dad he was in the pit area. I forget when it was, but he was down there.
Yeah, it was his first public appearance in 2005 after his stroke. We had him when we did a deal with Panther Racing, and Buddy Lazier was our driver, and it was mid-May of 2005, and we had to get a wheelchair van and a motorized wheelchair, and we brought him to the race. That was his first time out of the hospital nursing home that he'd ever gone anywhere, was the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in May 2005.
As big as you are, he had to get a motorized wheelchair. Between you and David, you couldn't push the poor guy?
I don't think I'm going to be pushing him around because, you want to go here, go here, go here, go here. You control it, Dad. You can go where you want to go. But
So what is it you guys, are you and your brother connected in the Byrd racing together? You both?
Well, he's definitely the brains and the driving force behind it. So my brother David has been very entrenched in the world of racing and different, IndyCar and short track for the last decade or so, while I've done some other things. He's really just done, focused on that along with running Hartels. So, he's made the connections. He's the one. Back in 2011, he was helping Lotus Fan Force United and working PR and doing that type of things, and kind of being able to, learn some more of the business, make some more connections. That's kind of when he started paying attention to Brian Clausen back in those days, and just kind of formulating the plan that eventually led to what we did with the whole 2015 and 2016 and with BC and getting the whole Chasing 200 tour put together, and putting the sponsorship or the business sponsors that we had to put together to make that deal happen. So he's super smart. He's brilliant. He's a talker. He can talk to anybody about anything on any subject and claim he's the expert on it as well. He's definitely one who's doing that work, and so we get to work together on things of that nature, especially during the month of May when he's in town, and we can put together that 500 effort, and it's a lot of fun to do that. We had a great month of May this past year. It was only the third time since 1985, and we've been trying to race in the 500 where we finished 500 miles, and Dad only did it once, and we've done it twice now. And it was just, it's a fantastic thing. So yeah, he's the brilliance behind it. He's made the connections to short track stuff, and now he's involving his one of his twin boys into racing now too. So they've done karting together, and now the next step is maybe the Lucas Oil Series. He's trying to turn Nathan Byrd into an IndyCar driver the next 5 to 6 years.
What does Mom say about that one? The kids.
My mom?
No,
well, she's unfortunately no longer with us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
I didn't know that.
I don't think it would have mattered. I think Dave's in charge anyway.
I know. I contacted him to see if he'd be in town because you guys.
Yeah, you missed him by a day.
Yeah, he said I'll be in Wednesday.
Yeah.
You want to change the day to your? No.
No.
Who are you? Who's running for you in the BC 39?
So we teaming up again with Connor Daly, and what we did with Connor, give a round of applause for Connor. Yeah, we've been trying to push USAC guys up into IndyCar, and we were just talking if we can't get USAC guys to IndyCar, we'll bring IndyCar guys down to USAC. So we're doing that. So we've got Connor driving in the BC 39 with Petrie Motorsports. So we'll be doing that race, and this kind of continuation from what we did last year with him in the Chili Bowl. And then this Saturday night at Lucas Oil Raceway in the Silver Crown race, our Indy 500 driver, James Davison, will be competing in the Silver Crown race in the Richard Vogler Memorial. So, again, another IndyCar guy, we're bringing him to USAC and, bring him to the masses.
People commented, James Davidson hasn't been around that much, but he did a heck of a job this year.
Well, he's a great race car driver, very knowledgeable, very technical, knows what a race car can do, knows where the limits are. And, when we were talking about doing the whole, when he raced at Salem a few weeks ago, it was Salem, right? Yeah, Salem. Yeah. He, we're like, this is just... he's been doing some vintage racing. He won in the 1980s McLaren. He's racing a 1960s Jim Clark car and another historic race. So we're just racing historic Indy cars, which are basically Silver Crown cars, on the tracks that historic Indy cars used to race at. So it's just basically him doing historic racing for us. But he really enjoyed it a lot.
He did fairly well for the time there.
He just got stuck behind that one guy and eventually just lost the lap because that guy wouldn't get out of his way.
What is it you do? You're president of the Speedrome. You told me at one time your intention was to try and buy it.
Yeah,
but you missed it.
Late to the party on that one, unfortunately. But what I do at the Speedrome is I'm the general manager and track president. Day-to-day, operationally, just being there. The track owner, he is involved a lot, so a lot of the things, we work on together. My main purview on race nights is making sure, imagine that the food operations go well at the Speedrome. So that's my main responsibility, and we've done a great job. I think the concession stands, best prices in town, best food in town. You can't get a better deal than you can when you go to the Speedrome. I mean. Tons of compliments on the food. The service speed is fantastic. Growing up at the cafeteria, I hated lines. I was trained to move lines, and so we've got some of the fastest service in any concession stand here in the country. At any short track, even any Major League Baseball stadium, I'd put our crew up against those guys. So. And
you've made a lot of upgrades to the Speedrome. It's much better. And I heard at one time you were going to go west and take that mess out that was on the west side of the backstretch and put things in for motorhomes and so forth. Have you done that?
The biggest thing we've just worked on is we've upgraded a lot of the seating.
Yeah.
First of all, we've replaced tons of tons of wood with aluminum. We replaced the whole front stretch that had all the wooden or the folding chairs with actual stadium-style seating. Upgraded every concessions area as well. Upgraded the paddock area. Upgraded the public address system. We've done a lot of paving work, fence work, all sorts of things. We're in the process of building a brand new concession / restroom building that will be open next year. We'll be expanding the south end. We're going to start building grandstands from the entrance to turn 3 or midway through turn 3, and we're just going to eventually work all the way around to get rid of the old 1976 bleachers that were put up back in the day. So we're going to have all those replaced, and those are all going to be aluminum when it's all said and done.
And you've been filling them.
Yes, yeah, this has been a great year. We've done some newer events. We actually brought back school bus figure eights at the Speedrome, and the place goes crazy for them. It's amazing what these people do, and we actually own the buses. Kevin bought the buses. Kevin Garrigus, the track owner. We put our figure eight guys in, our late model guys in, and we do that. We'll have another school bus figure eight on Saturday night, October 5th. That'll be kind of our grand finale of our Saturday night racing. So encourage you all to come out and see that, witness that, and then the week before that, on September 28th, we'll be doing another front-wheel drive demolition derby night with some other fun races. So that'll be another huge crowd. But this coming Saturday night is the big one. It is the World Figure Eight Championship 3-hour endurance race. Cars from all across the country racing on the figure eight for 3 hours of non-stop mayhem. You think a 3-hour race anymore, it used to be a marathon, but it is a sprint race now. In the last 4 years, the top 3 cars, you could put a blank on them, finishing on the lead lap after 3 hours. It's been absolutely phenomenal.
The interesting thing is I've been out watched these guys. Tooney, is it that always?
The Tunnies, yes.
Tunnies. They used to win them all.
Yep.
But you see these guys and you think, well, they'd be on the brakes, they'd be slow. Oh, no, they're not.
No.
They know how to just get out of gas enough to get, and then off they go. And these cars that they potentially destroy are $45,000, $50,000 cars. They're not pieces
Absolutely.
of junk.
Yeah, and Ben Tunney, you mentioned him. He just won his second track championship at the age of 30 in his 15th year of racing at the Speedrome in a figure 8 car. So it's his experience. You know, you got a lot of these guys who think they buy a car and they spend $50,000 and they think they should be gangbusters, and they don't understand how they can't beat Ben Tunney. Well, he's been racing since he was 16 years old in a crap box for all intents and purposes. He had to start off with, his dad's hand-me-down car, and he worked his way up, and, after 15 years, he got really good at it, and you can too. You just got to you got to love it, and, he's a racer, you They don't have racers anymore. You've got, back in the day in the 70s and 80s, when they raced Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday, 4 times a week at the racetrack, at the Speedrome guys, that's the cloth that Ben Tunney's been, and, the guys who are really successful, that's the cloth they're cut out of. They're racers. And you don't have racers anymore who do it week in, week out for the love of the sport.
Now, they used to run midgets there. They don't anymore. And I heard some talk about trying to resurrect a midget series for you. Are you getting anywhere? Have you worked on it, or is that?
I would love to. We host the Kenyan midgets a few times a year. Unfortunately, pavement midget racing in the Midwest is pretty much non-existent on pavement. I don't think that should be the way it should be.
I agree.
I think that there's interest, but there's not been enough interest to figure out what that rules package is to make the dirt car equal or make, to the super fast, super pavement cars that are out there, that are still out there. So I've always felt like if you can come up with a $400 or $500 rules package to convert a dirt car that you run national midget race right now, with a spring change or a ride height adjustment or something like that. I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know what that is. I talked with a couple mechanic guys about this. They felt that maybe that could be something that could be done. And then on a short track, it wouldn't work at Raceway Park. It wouldn't work on a big mile oval, but on a 5th mile oval where horsepower is and everything, it's more about handling and seeing if you can get to the outside Champions Groove and make passes. I think it'd be really cool to put on a race and have the Chris Wyndhams and the Sunshines and everybody to come out and race a national race on pavement with their dirt car to see how it would work. There's interest, there's talk. Davey Ray was talking to me a few months ago, how he was trying to figure out to do something. Another thing I would like to do is how you've seen some other big pavement tracks is put dirt down for a weekend, and I've thought about how I could make that happen, but I'm a chicken cook. I'm not a dirt guy. I don't know. I'm a chicken cook from Greenwood, so I haven't figured that out yet.
Talked to Mike Harding when they built this track in here. He said, I got dirt. I got to get rid of it. Give it to you. Who knows? You may have some.
You never know. It's always about where you're going to put it after you're done with it, though.
Well, that is a problem. When I first came to town, we used to go out there. I got to know Leroy Warner, who was at one time an owner of the track, and all the biggest names in the 70s and 80s 500 drivers all drove there.
Absolutely.
They used to drive their midgets there years ago.
I put together a huge list of 500 drivers, people who've competed in the 500, who actually won features at the Speedrome, let alone raced the Speedrome, and it was 30, 40, 50 people deep. I studied it when we brought USAC back in 2004 to the Speedrome.
Now, I heard last week that you broke precedent. You've got the figure 8s and all this stuff, buses now, and
right.
You had an IndyCar out there, first time ever.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Billy there asked me if he could borrow the track to start up a car. So we got on Facebook, and I teased everybody, and I said we're doing some testing on our potential new 2020 division, historic IndyCar racing at the Speedrome. And I had some people that popped up. Can they do it on the figure 8? I asked somebody just Saturday night, man, I can't wait for IndyCar at Speedrome. I'm like, sir, I'm very sorry to bust your bubble. That was just a test. I was kind of joking about that. I was hoping you could tell from the sarcasm in my voice.
Bill and Fluffy said that it worked out well for them.
Yeah, it was really cool to see that, and
the driver accomplished what they set him out to do.
Oh, yeah?
How to control the car and gears and all that kind of thing. It all worked out well.
Yeah. And then earlier in the year, we had 3 F2000 cars doing some laps at the Speedrome as well. So we've had some Formula cars at the Speedrome this year. That wasn't the first time.
You're getting famous.
I'm getting fat, not famous.
So am I. Now, do you still have the catering business?
Yes, we still going strong. We have a facility up in Carmel at the 502 East Event Center up in Carmel, and we handle our catering operation down there. But we have a big 40,000 square. Well, I don't know how many. I can't remember. It's 20,000 square feet. You can fit 1,200 people in there for dinner. Problem is, we only have 400 parking spots, so everybody's got a carpool when they have an event there.
Well, I could go there, but I don't have 1,200 friends, so
Well,
it would be real easy. There'd be plenty of room in the parking lot.
absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to make that happen.
What's the manager?
Kevin
Yeah.
Manship. Yeah.
He's been with you for what, over 20 years?
Yeah, it was Christmas of '96. So this is his. I've run out of fingers and toes. How many is that now? Yeah, that's a lot of years. Yeah, 23.
Because I remember he sponsored me when he was managing the Fazoli's over here on Lafayette.
Yep, that's where we got him from.
Yeah, good guy.
Yep.
Good guy.
Been with our family 23 years now. Loyal servant, and he's just done a fantastic job for us. And in addition to catering down there, we also have the food service contract down at Camp Atterbury, so we feed the soldiers. I like to say we do it cheaper than the previous guy is, so we save the taxpayers money. You're welcome.
How does your mom like all of this, all the change? I mean, she's
digging it. She loves it. She came out to the track pretty much every day this May, and she came out every day last year and the year before that. Last year she was running on her scooter. I'm sure you saw her. She had a hip replacement. Yeah. And then this summer, in April, she decided to fall down, and so she tore her rotator cuff. So she had a rotator cuff surgery this summer.
Boy, that's nice.
And then she fell down again. So I have to say, I'm the old person fall recovery team. Can I help you? I was always on the phone with her. So that's 4 months. I told her after 3. I said that 3 strikes you're out, no more, because we're going to have to put you down. I'm glad you laughed at that because I was joking.
Well, did she participate, help out, or is she just kind of in the background saying?
She calls strategy.
Yeah.
On the radio. Yeah. She called into that first pit stop, and then Elio hit James. It was just wrong call at that time.
Well, I remember.
No, she does. She's a big part of it. She loves it, and we love having her be a part of it.
And she's enjoying the direction you guys have taken. What your dad started, and you've gotten a little bit different.
It's hospitality, and Mom is the perfect hospitality person. If back in the day she could have been elected mayor of Greenwood, as many people came through the cafeteria and knew her, she could have been elected mayor of Greenwood, Indiana. But
she had better sense in getting politics.
Exactly.
And she'd have people that didn't like her. It's kind of interesting how you and your brother have maintained the connection and gotten the love for the sport that your dad did. And again, it amazes me. We talked about his world-class Bible collection, the food, the racing, but then he got into the hotels in I think in Goodyear.
Yes.
What brought that on?
Well,
nothing to do today. Let's look at building hotels.
Well, back in the early '80s when we were racing, mid '80s, we were racing the Copper World Classic every year out in PIR at Phoenix International Raceway, and it was the first event of the year in February. Get out of Indiana for the cold winter and be able to go out there. And he just absolutely fell in love with the area. Goodyear, PIR is just 10 minutes from Goodyear. And so, straight down Litchfield Road. And Dad always has had this vision about a Holiday Inn Express and a Cracker Barrel. Well, in the mid-'80s, Cracker Barrel had never even gone west of the Mississippi back then. So after 10 years or so, he got was able to make it happen, found the land, and built the Holiday Inn Express. And how about that? About a year later, Cracker Barrel came coming for the other piece of land, and guess where the first Cracker Barrel west of the Mississippi was built? Right next to our Holiday Inn Express in Goodyear, Arizona. So we love Phoenix. He loved Phoenix. He built 4 more hotels. We got 4 more hotels out there, all right next to each other in that area. So good stuff.
So David could just get roller skates and go from one to the other. He doesn't have to drive.
I would pay to see that. It's a good idea. I'm going to have to tell him.
Yeah, sure.
Well, he's a runner now. He's all Mr. Fit, and he runs and he spins, and plastic surgery and everything. He's so vain. He probably thinks the song's about him.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Only this crowd would get that joke, I think, too.
Yeah, there aren't any kids here. By the way, there is 2 musicians in the house. The young man in the red shirt is Phil Kaiser. You don't have to point, Julie. I know where the hell he is.
She's pointing for me, Don.
Red shirt for Pete's sake. Other than it's not Fluffy. And sitting across the way is probably one of the finest guitar players you will see anywhere. Mark Moran. They played here Saturday night. They had a really good crowd, and the first time I've seen people were jumping, standing, screaming, and singing along. I would have, but I didn't know some of the tunes. But it's a great band. If you ever need a band for any kind of entertainment, cleverly they're called You're Never on Hold with the Beep Line, and their name of the band is the Beep Line. All one
Very
word,
nice.
the Beep Line. And
Very nice.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
There you go.
Really good. So if up there somebody wants to have a party and say, hey, we'd like to have a band, they're the people.
The Beep Line and fried chicken together for a banquet. If you want fried chicken, by the way, Saturday night at the Speedrome, the picnic dinner will be up, and we'll be serving fried chicken dinners. If you haven't got John the Birch fried chicken in a while, you can't get it. We're going to serve fried chicken. So $10, get your fried chicken meal served between 3:30 and 6:30 outside the 3-hour. Come early because there's not going to be anywhere to park except English Avenue or all the way at the Hardee's at Arlington and Brookville.
And it's a long walk from there.
Yes, it is. But that's how it'll be standing room only, sold out. The place is going to be packed, especially after last year in the hurricane. How about that? The hurricane, the same week, the same. Fortunately, God bless those people down there, but it's not going to be anywhere rain, mess up. But I will ask you, who do you think is going to have a bigger crowd Saturday? We think the Speedrome or the Xfinity race or the Silver Crown race? Saturday. Everybody who says Speedrome will have over 5,000 people. Yeah, Raceway Park, Silver Crown, they probably have a good crowd. We're going to blow the flipping Xfinity race out the water. It's not even funny.
The biggest mistake they made was leaving Lucas Oil Raceway. Big mistake.
Oh, yeah.
They used to get a ton of people. I forget, they had like
that was the best race of the year in the
they have 25,000 people there.
Grand National Series.
Yeah.
That's how old I can say Grand National Series. I know what that means. That's how old I am.
Yeah. So, are you kidding? You're young. Good grief.
Well, you were old enough. You actually saw him running Moonshine, Don.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's where this was. Moonshine.
Moonshine, yeah.
So, it's very interesting. Of everything, people don't realize what the Byrd family has done. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you were the first Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think your dad told me one time that the Colonel stopped several times to talk to him.
He did. We were actually watching this documentary on the History Channel about the food that built America, and Colonel Sanders was one of the stories, and they did talk about him. He would drive up and down from Louisville, US 31, going north. And he made his way to my grandparents' restaurant, which was called the Kitchen Drive-In back then. Yes, we had girls on roller skates delivering, high hamburgers and fries and onion rings and root beer to people's cars. And the Colonel, he just basically went to restaurants, mom and pop restaurants like our families, and want people to sell his fried chicken. You'd buy the pressure cookers from him. Or he'd give you the pressure cookers. You just paid him royalty, and we all tasted the fried chicken. Well, I wasn't born back then, but I'm not that old. But But the story goes that they all loved the fried chicken, but my grandfather thought 5 cents a head royalty was highway robbery. He wouldn't pay the colonel's royalty for that. But eventually we did, or else we would have been the very first Kentucky Fried Chicken franchisee. That's how the story goes. Don't know how true that is, but we would have been one of the first for sure. But yeah, we served the fried chicken in the drive-in, and then it was just so incredibly popular, we built a building right next to the drive-in, and that just dwarfed what the drive-in did. Closed it down. Everybody in the family started getting involved. In Shelbyville, there was a brother, the brother of my grandfather, and then the sister, and Brownsburg, and the North Side. I mean, there were just all sorts of family members got involved, and we had 5 or 6 of them, and then sold those for the capital to build my dad's dream. Took him 20 years to build his dream, and if you let any dream build in your mind for 20 years, you end up building an acre under roof, 43,000 square foot building.
And he told me when he said what he wanted to do, he was told, "You got to be kidding! Put that thing there."
Well, it wasn't necessarily where it was at. It was the fact of what we was missing from the menu. Having a big banquet facility and all that square footage, and not going to sell any alcohol in your banquet hall was pretty much writing your own death certificate.
So they said.
So they said, and funny, the fact is, the story goes, a guy pulled up to the construction site one day when my dad was just sitting on the picnic table, cost overruns, a storm had just come, knocked down all the trusses, and guy pulls up, and my dad's just going to help you. He goes, "Yeah, the guy who's building this place, he's not going to serve beer or alcohol or liquor, and so I own a string of funeral parlors around here, and this will be a great place for a funeral parlor." That guy's a moron for not building with alcohol. So, but we proved him wrong, many, many, many years, and hundreds of thousands and millions of pieces of chicken later, and those were the days. And it's not around anymore, but like everything, time moves on, and things change, and times change, and we had to adjust, and that's how things go.
Good for you, keeping you and your brother busy.
Absolutely.
And renovating and reinvigorating the speedrome, I think, is phenomenal.
Oh my gosh, it has been, double, almost triple what they were doing. And the speedrome almost died 3 years ago. If it wasn't for the track ownership that bought the racetrack, it would not have reopened in 2017. And so we would have lost another short track in this country. And, thanks to the efforts of Kevin and everybody, all the staff we have, a fantastic staff. They work tirelessly. They work super hard. We put on a fantastic show. It's probably pretty much done. We start at 7. If we're done at 10, we did a great job. So you're not going to be there, for 4 or 5 hours. 1, 2 in the morning. You're going to get a good show. It's only going to cost you $10. This year we made kids 12 and under free for most events, and we've had another huge year. And so it's been great. And I hope that things proceed in 2020. We're working on that schedule already now, but let me get through the 3 hour till I start thinking about 2020. I always have to get through this week.
Well, I take my hat off to you, which I will do.
Well, thank you.
What you and the owner have done to reinvigorate the place, get it back where it used to be. Great action, great crowds, obviously great food, I guess.
Oh, it's fantastic. You don't get my size eating bad food every day, and I'm at the racetrack every Saturday night, dude.
I guess that's not where I need to go. I must be doing something wrong because I'm putting on weight too.
Well,
I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I figure if I ask enough times, they eventually say, okay.
You wore me down.
And this Saturday night, the big one.
World Figure 8 3-hour endurance race. World Figure 8 Championship. 3 crazy hours, over 40 cars. We'll start at 28. We'll keep adding them as they come off. There's going to be cars. And it's the only race in the world where you can actually not start the race and not finish the race and win the race. So whoever completes the most laps in 3 hours. It's not likely going to happen, but somebody did win by, someone would have had a 30-lap lead with 15 minutes to go. They could have just parked on the backstretch and waved to everybody.
I forget where the big world championship figure 8 was in New York. I went there.
Yes, it was at, and now you just made me forget too, because I would have just said it like that normally.
I went there.
Islip, yes, thank you. 1973, the New York Islip World Figure Eight Championship, won by Sonny Thompson, who was an 8-time Speedrome champion. It was shown on Wide World of Sports. Chris Economaki covered it, and then that was the World Figure Eight Championship. It was a 25-lap race back then. And so the first 2 years of the World Figure Eight Championship we have now, we call it the National Figure Eight because it was still the World Championship in New York. But when Islip closed down, John Stiles co-opted the name, and it's been a World Figure Eight Championship ever since.
Well, if you're not doing anything Saturday night, Speedrome.
Speedrome.
However, it's a sellout, so you got to maneuver.
It's not sold out yet. Just get there early, and you'll have a seat.
Oh, okay.
But you can stand if you want.
Sure.
Yeah.
Standing room. And you do sell alcohol at the...
We do have a selection of beers. And the biggest thing apparently in the entire world is we added Mick Ultra this year, and everybody went crazy for it. So, Michelob Ultra, who'd have thought?
Not me.
Not me.
However, all right.
Yeah.
Congratulations on what you're doing with the speed. What, you want to go home?
No, I was like, I'm having fun.
Okay, well, you can talk to these people. And don't forget, if you have somebody rent your place up in Carmel and they say, we'd like to have a band, you got to look to these guys. I'm telling you.
There you go. Absolutely.
And they also have the sound man here.
Oh, well.
Joe is here. So
the sound man is the most important guy.
Oh, I know. He makes them all sound good. So, thanks for being here. I appreciate you taking the time. We'll be watching how you do with the BC 39.
Yeah, let's root on Connor on Wednesday and Thursday, and root on James on Saturday night, and root on me that I don't break anything and don't have a nervous breakdown on Saturday.
You'll be fine. Thanks for coming here, Jonathon Byrd II. I don't know if he likes it, but I refer to him as JB2. But I don't know what anybody else does, and I hope he doesn't yell at me. Thanks for being here. Good luck. Don't forget the World Championship this Saturday night at Speedrome. Get out there. It'll be a lot of fun. Probably more. Well, I won't say that either. I'll be quiet. Certainly better than the Infinity race. Next week, we'll be here, and my first guest scheduled at the moment is the CEO of Hallman & Company, owners of the IndyCar Series and the Speedway. Till next week, Don Kay saying thanks for watching, thanks for being here, thanks for this. Till next week, good night.